Happy Thursday, Jambo, Namaste, Konnichiwa, Bonjour, and greetings to everyone. So, thank you for hanging in with me while we were trying to figure out technical difficulties here. I can't share my slides, but I will do it the old fashioned way. My name is Aarti Gadhia, and today I'm going to cover an important topic on building your personal brand in information security. Over the next 40 minutes, after I introduce myself further, I'll share challenges individuals experience when building your brand. There'll be some audience participation as I chatted earlier on, and I shared a link for Google Forms. Please, as we're going along, please fill that form. I'll then leverage the concept of the golden circle, which is why, how, and what. And if you're not familiar with this concept, there's a great TED talk as Simon Sinek explains it well. This is all about starting with why building your brand is important. I'll then share examples of how of cybersecurity professionals and how they've been building their brand. And then I'll end it with 5 simple tips. So a little bit about my Safari. This is where it goes into the next slide. That's what the slide's supposed to look like, right? I don't know if it's mirroring it or not, but if it isn't, we'll figure it out. My network knows me as a change agent, and my purpose is to be a voice. And I've dedicated my entire career to breaking down barriers and boundaries for underrepresented groups in STEM and in leadership. My passion is to create opportunities and change. And how I've done this is through Stand Out to Lead, she sharing her empowerment, and WISIS Western Canada, a newly formed affiliate here. The impact has been phenomenal. 30 women have already begun their board journey, and I've seen a 50% in recruitment just within my own organization at BugCrowd. And I was honored for my contribution in the cybersecurity industry by being named as one of the top 20 women in Canada. And this inspired me to share my journey with a few tips in the book, The Rise of the Cyber Women, Volume 2. I'm on the OS board here in Vancouver, and I'm a board advisor at Observe ID. And I'm proud to share that both boards have a 50% gender representation on the boards. Outside of work, I enjoy cooking. And if you saw this picture, me and my motorcycle there, you can see the helmet. I enjoy riding, although the past couple of weeks, my bike has been at the mechanic getting fixed, so I haven't been able to ride the past 2-3 weeks. Okay, so my next slide is this. I don't know if you can see it, but anyways, I'll hold it so we can get it a little bit closer. There we go. Hopefully you can see it. It's going to be the opposite, maybe. I don't know. It's working good. Thanks, Adam, for your encouragement. So here we are. Let's try and understand the challenges and the obstacles. Why isn't everyone building their brand? Most individuals say they know the value, but what's stopping you or what's stopping them, right? I asked my friends, family, work colleagues what their challenges and obstacles have been when building their brand, and I received comments that I'll categorize it into 6 categories. First is not enough time. I haven't thought about it. I'm not sure of the value. Fear of negative criticism. I don't know how to build one. And imposter syndrome. In the survey, I didn't see anyone select fear of negative criticism. However, I did speak to a founder a few months ago, just someone, a reseller local to Calgary, actually. Him and I had a great conversation on this. And he said for him, it was fear of how a negative brand could affect his business, which is his obstacle to building his brand. And I can understand, and I can relate to that statement. Another interesting point is that according to research, it takes 7 seconds to form first impression. So of course, me being me, I decided to experiment this with my 8-year-old niece. And I did an act of 3 different personas. And in 7 seconds, she could tell me which individual she liked the best. So if you think about it in a job interview, if the interviewer doesn't know you the first impression is critical. You may not be aware, but with every interaction you have with your network, whether this is through a conversation or through social media or through project work, you are building your personal brand. In the interview phase, if they knew your brand, positive or negative, that could influence how your interview goes. And this is another reason on how fear can be an obstacle. And as you'll see here from the survey, I'll just read it out, right? 31% said imposter syndrome and 37.5% said there wasn't enough time. So those are the top two, and 75% of those two categories. And the biggest tip that I'd like to share to you all is to recognize your obstacle and to overcome it. I hear the time constraint as a challenge from so many individuals. I used it many times. And I realized I'm missing out on an opportunity. And that's when it got me to reflect. And I'd like to highlight the importance of investing in yourself. And I'll cover more details in this talk, as one of the negative consequences in not investing time in building your brand could be a missed opportunity. In my journey, other things would always come in the way. I actually started journaling, and through that, I realized how much time I spent on things that were not important. Just writing things down and then realizing what's important and how much time is being wasted on that. Now I know getting started is probably the hardest part, which is why I'm going to help you. And that's why I've created a virtual exercise that we'll go through. And that's why I'd love your participation. All of you have been awesome at supporting me in the beginning, as I've been trying to figure out how this works, right? And here we are on the talk, but I'll repost the form. Thanks, Josh. See your note. So I'll repost this form. If you can all open it up, right? And the first question, as you open up the form, the first question is to write down your why. Think of it as your purpose. So as I'm going through this exercise, I'll walk you through. And it's okay if you haven't thought about your purpose. For me, my safari of experiences led me to understand my purpose, as I didn't want anyone else to experience the same roadblocks. So my purpose is to be a voice. And it became clearer over the years. So connect your purpose to how it will better the world. For example, my purpose is connected to equality, equity, and inclusive workplaces, and making this a better environment. And then next, I'd like you to write what you're passionate about. Think about how you can achieve your purpose using your passion. As you start writing, you may notice things that you didn't think about. And then the third question in the Google form is to write 3 adjectives that describe you. For example, tenacious, ambitious, focused, determined, open-minded, inspiring, reliable. These are all just examples. Think about your 3 adjectives. I went for a leadership conference a few years ago, and that exercise, they got us to do it beforehand. And I reached out to 10 people in my network to share what they thought of me. Interestingly enough, and I also sent it to family members, I thought, they would say different things. But it was really interesting just with this exercise, how family, my network, and work colleagues came up with similar adjectives that described me. And many of us who struggle with imposter syndrome, this is a great exercise and may help you see what you didn't see in yourself. Last part of the exercise is think about what you'd like to be known for and connect it back to your purpose. So to help you with this exercise, I'm going to share 2 examples. Vincent, just any adjectives, just start writing them down, right? So 2 examples. This is where I'm going to go to the next slide. Here we go. This is my next slide, by the way. I don't know if you can recognize who they are. But you'll see with what's happening today. So that's my first example with what's happening here. These two are scientists, Sahin and Teresi. Hopefully it's clear. They're known for the brains behind the world's first effective coronavirus vaccine. Pfizer reached out to them. That is their brand. If you read their story, you'll understand that they were not focused on how to be famous or how to make money. They wanted to provide something for society, and that was their purpose for many years. And they shared their passion for cancer research. It's interesting, I read quite a bit about them. The second one, let me go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Probably can guess who they are, right? So everyone knows who they are, anonymous group. And I read an article that shared that the media is at a loss at how to describe them. And one thing for sure that is clear is that their purpose is promoting freedom of speech in a way that they won't be able to do it anonymously. They are a leaderless group, and how they go about their message is anonymously in a coordinated manner, where whenever you see that mask, you know who they are. So I'll go back so you can see it again, my slide. There we go. And back to the golden circle. Let's try and understand the value. Here we go. Let's try and understand the value of and the importance of building your brand. I love storytelling, and I'll explain this through interviews with women in our industry. And here you go. Here's my next slide. So let's start off. Hopefully you can still see it, right? So in the picture is Alyssa Miller. Many of you probably already know her. She's currently the BISO, Business Information Security Officer for S&P Global Ratings. As I was interviewing Alyssa, she shared a story that made her realize the importance of building her brand and the impact it had to her safari. A few years ago, she applied for a leadership position. She knew she had all the qualifications for that leadership position. Unfortunately, she didn't get that position, and I know many of us can relate to that story. Through this experience, she knew that she had to find a way to turn a no into an opportunity. Now, Alyssa was invited to speak at a conference where she was speaking right after Karen Elizari. So in the other picture there is Karen. And this was, I actually remember speaking to or meeting Karen back in 2018. I don't know if any of you attended the Western Canada Information Security Conference in Winnipeg. That was the time when conferences were still, like you'd go there and meet everybody. It was in person. So I got to meet her there. And when she got on stage, she introduced herself as a friendly hacker. That was her first line in her talk. And Karen is someone Alyssa has always looked up to. And during the interview, Alyssa shared with me that she saw that Karen was not afraid of introducing herself as a hacker. Karen's TED Talk inspired her audience why the world needs hackers. To quote from an article she shared, hackers and hacktivists help create a better world by exposing vulnerabilities that push the internet to become stronger and healthier. This inspired Alyssa to embrace her strength as a hacker. Alyssa's purpose is to improve all aspects of the security community. How she built her brand is through speaking engagements. As she focused on her why, she began to notice that her brand was opening up opportunities for her. One speaking engagement led to another, and her career progressed. And when you hear Alyssa Miller or Karen Elizari's name, it's not about what their title is. It's not about whether they're an introvert, extrovert. It's not about what degree they have. What you see is their brand, which is built around their purpose and their passion. So let's take a deeper look at the impact a brand can have. For companies with a strong brand, it means revenue, growth, innovation, competition. But what does it mean, and what is the impact on people? Okay, so my next slide. There we go. This is my next slide. I'm going to try and hold it up there so you can kind of see, if you can see it. Hopefully it's not the opposite side, but anyways. The first one is you're inspiring your audience. Even if one person gets inspired, this will help you with your overall mission and ultimately making this a better world full of equal opportunities. Think about it. Karen inspired her audience on why the world needs good hackers. There has been a lot of education, awareness over the last few years, and today, movies have evolved. They show how hackers are leveraged for good purposes. Years back, it was hackers are bad, but there was a lot of education there. And hackers are now, you see the good hackers and the bad hackers, right? Second is it opens up opportunities. For Alyssa, as she mentioned, it opened up speaking engagements as she's been a keynote speaker at many conferences. And as you reflect on your brand, on why your brand is important, and you begin to build your brand, it will open up opportunities for you. And as you start seeing these opportunities, one thing I'd like to share is keep remembering your why. What's your purpose? As opportunities arise, don't forget your purpose and keep it connected to that bigger cause. And third, at the same time, speak up. Don't be afraid of the outcome. Life is like a safari. It will be a bumpy ride. There will be many obstacles. I don't know where this is going to take me, but one thing for sure is that I hope to inspire you to find your purpose and fulfill your mission, but do it in a way where you're not changing your values. Be you and be yourself. Stay authentic. I think we were talking about that earlier on, just in the networking session. Adam, you mentioned about the authentic side of what COVID has brought us. So this will help you be a voice for your audience and be the change. It wasn't easy for Alyssa, and she faced many obstacles. It hasn't been easy for me either. I know I could have decided to move to another industry, but I didn't. And as you take this opportunity to build your brand, think about the positive impact it will have. Lastly, to highlight the quote from Jeff Bezos, which is on this slide, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. None of these women are in the room, yet we all agree one thing, which is their brand and their contribution to this industry to make it a better place. Okay, so now I've explained why and highlighted the impact. I'll explain the how, and I'll share an example. So here you'll be able to see. You can probably recognize who these two women are, right? Can you still see it, by the way? My screen, well, my phone screen. Yes, thank you. Awesome. So let's take a look at these two women, Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama. Both are first ladies served at the White House and have taken different approaches to building their brand. And how they built their brand is through connecting to their audiences in a very unique way. As part of Hillary's campaign, she used her first name, just like you would call a friend. That's how she connected to her audience. Michelle Obama, she used social media to reinvent the role of First Lady and appeal to a young audience. You see her rapping on Carpool Karaoke. She's dancing on The Ellen Show. She's showing she is a mom, right? Both of them didn't change who they are. They didn't change their values. And you don't need to have a corporate look. You don't need to be the one that presents on stage and to be visible. You can build your brand through various different channels. If you're passionate about research, maybe a blog. If you enjoy public speaking, why not submit CFPs like here at this conference, B-Sides? If you enjoy video editing, social media. At work, it can also be through your project work or a task like the two scientists, right? Everyone knows who they are. Think of ways of how you can share your passion and accomplish your purpose through various channels. So let me give you 3 examples of 3 women in our industry who I've been watching over the last 12 months. One of them is local here in Canada, too. They're not famous, and you may not know them, but they have been building their brand and they're making an impact and bringing a positive change. So, first one, here we go. And there we go. First one is, if you can see her picture, you'll be able to read the siding, but I'll start reading out for you, is confidence. So through LinkedIn, Confidence and I connected, and that's where I saw her purpose, which is to help the most vulnerable people and businesses in be cyber aware and stay secure. Confidence shared that her passion is educating her audience, and she does this in a fun and jargon-free way by regularly creating content through music videos. If you see her on LinkedIn and see her videos, you'll probably understand where I'm coming from. And this has had a huge impact on her personal brand and created top-of-mind awareness in the minds of her target audiences. And through this, she has had multiple paid engagements. It's made partnerships easier to secure, but more importantly, her followers are increasingly becoming more cybersecurity conscious. It wasn't easy, and a major challenge for Confidence was embracing her personality difference. During her safari of experiences, she stayed true to herself. It took sitting in full awareness of self and relating her unconventional approach to things, and realized this was a positive differentiator to connect with her audience to get the most impact. So back to her video, if you YouTube her video, like go to YouTube and Google her video, No Go Fall MAGA, you'll see that music video, it's rapping, and the music video is actually educating her audience about cyber hygiene. And when I asked her, how would you like to be known as when you're not in the room? And her answer was, the woman who used all the tools in her arsenal to help, especially the most vulnerable people, protect themselves from cyber attacks. And her advice to building your brand is to learn to speak social media fluently and think of it as an enabling platform to attain your goals. Share about the work you're doing frequently. Network with like minds and genuinely seek to add value to yourself and the world. Discover who you are. Your cheat sheet could be feedback, and leverage your strengths. Next, I'd like to highlight is Farah. Here we go. There we go. So Farah studied communication media studies. However, cybersecurity and hacking was really intriguing, and therefore she joined our industry. And due to her degree in media, her passion was creating valuable content for others, the YouTube videos. And since she came from a non-technical background, she found it really difficult initially to understand super technical blogs or write-ups about hacking, as they were full of technical jargon. She also knew that she was not the only person facing this problem. So she decided to create a YouTube channel where she would try to simplify the most technical bugs and make it digestible for everyone. That itself became her brand, and her purpose is to help her audience to turn to her channel so they don't have to spend hours trying to understand a complex bug. Farah shared that it takes a lot to put yourself out there and to be able to entertain or educate people. I also do videos as well, and I can totally relate to that. And when she began, it took her a while to figure out what direction to take, and had to make some conscious decisions to give up certain content ideas which would not fit her vibe. And through her brand, she was offered a position as an application security engineer. And I've seen so many individuals who don't have a technical background unable to get a job in this industry. So she broke that barrier through her brand. By leveraging her brand, that was not even a barrier for her as she interviewed. Farah's advice is to identify a struggle or a pain point that you have faced in the industry. You may not realize it, but a lot of people are most likely facing the same issue. Try to fill that gap by bringing and creating value to solve that problem. When I asked her the same question of how she would like her audience to remember her as, she would like everyone to know her as a hacker who tries to make super technical hacking techniques much more accessible through her YouTube channel. And you'll see in here, even if you Google her, she's got like over 30,000 people subscribed to her channel. Next, someone we all probably know, local, here. Hopefully you can see that. Is Selena. And like Farah, Selena also had a non-technical background. She actually moved from HR to cybersecurity, where she was part of a SOC team. Her advice is to find a mentor or role models that you look up to. She dedicated time with a mentor, and that helped her build her brand internally. Her purpose is to bring in more diversity into the field by sharing her story to kids through volunteering opportunities with Isaka Vancouver She Leads Tech. She's passionate about teaching others to understand the importance of cybersecurity and what they are potentially exposing themselves to, from both a work and personal perspective. Not coming from an IT background, she always felt as if she were an imposter and was never good enough. I know lately, during the pandemic, imposter syndrome has become a topic that many people or individuals are starting to talk more about. Now, Selena thought that others would see right through her, and gender also played a role in that. People would tend to question her thoughts and advice more than her counterparts. And over time, she's built up knowledge and confidence to battle these two hurdles. She wants her followers to remember her as someone who's genuine, easy to talk to, and willing to help. Both Selena and Farah will be speaking with me tomorrow, so please do join our session tomorrow afternoon as we talk about how to land your first cybersecurity job. Now, as you'll see from these several different examples, there are many different ways on how you can build your brand. Just a quick friendly reminder is to continue writing or filling in the Google form and hit submit, because I forgot to mention earlier on is at the end, I'm going to pick a random person and you'll receive some swag from me. So the last section of my talk is the what you can do to build your brand through 5 simple tips. There's several different tips. There's a lot more, but I've just condensed it into 5. Here we go. Tip number 1. Can you see this? Hopefully you can. In the exercise, I started off with think about your why. Connect with your audience through your passion, but focus on your purpose. Your purpose should not be about getting that promotion. So back to focus, tip number 1 is focus on your purpose. You can't see my screen, right? Your purpose should not be about getting that promotion. Focus on how you can solve a problem. Inspire your audience to make an impact that will make this a better place. The opportunities will follow you. Tip number 2 is, there we go, promote your brand and also help promote others. Today I'm promoting other brands because we're all contributing to make this a better industry. As I shared earlier, you don't need to be a public speaker, or you don't need to be that extrovert to be able to promote your brand. There are many platforms such as blogs, books, videos, research, social media, project work, volunteering. Many individuals fear bragging or self-promotion because of imposter syndrome. And thanks, Josh, as you mentioned there, it is real. Or they, they find it difficult to self-promote because of humility. And for me, what helped me with imposter syndrome is to always remember my why and think about the change you will bring to make this a better place. And a great quote from RBG that I'd like to quote is, "Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will matter." And similarly, when you think about self-promoting or bragging, do it in a way that it will matter. Don't be afraid. The first time it will feel weird, but as you continue, you'll notice that it isn't viewed as bragging. People will start knowing you for your contribution. Tip number 3, I'm not going to share this, I'm just going to read it out now, is be authentic. Don't change who you are. Keep your values. Stay true to who you are. Your uniqueness is your strength. A great comment that Alyssa shared is, find your weird. Find what makes you unique and be yourself. I think in the networking session, I said, sometimes I don't have time to put my hair up properly. This is who I am and this is me. So don't feel that you have to look and be like someone else in order to build your brand. Tip number 4, dedicate time to invest in yourself. Don't let time constraints get in the way of investing in yourself. You saw earlier on how many people use time as an excuse. You'll be surprised at how much you can accomplish when you just dedicate 10 or 15 minutes a week. Dedicate time to build your network so that you can inspire your audience. You've seen how each one of us are leveraging different channels to reach our audience, from speaking engagements to writing a book, being an author, to creative educational songs on YouTube, to different channels, sharing content on YouTube channels. Building your network doesn't have to be networking after hours at a bar or with small talk. I know I struggled a little bit with small talk. I'm in sales, so that should come naturally in me. But the pandemic has helped us think creatively on how to network and connect. It could be through creating a Slack group within the organization, like a fun element, like a scavenger hunt or something you like, for example, pets. I've got my dog Simba, so pets is an example. I created a Slack channel, we're all sharing our pet. It could be scheduling a 15-minute virtual meetup with someone you have been watching through LinkedIn, and maybe you like their posts and you can reach out to them. I just did that last week. I really enjoyed somebody's post and I sent them a note to say thank you. Another great way to build your network is through volunteering opportunities. For example, WSIS Western Canada is looking for volunteers, and that's another great way of how you can build your network. You never know who you're going to meet while you're volunteering. Get involved at local cybersecurity groups. Great that you're all joining here at B-Sides. And if there isn't a local security group, create one. And tip number 5 is find a mentor and a sponsor and dedicate that time with them. A sponsor is someone who's talking about you when you're not in the room. I conducted a survey as I was curious why everyone doesn't have a mentor. And 25% of respondents said they do not have enough time in the day. 25% said they weren't sure how to approach someone. There are many security chapters locally, like ISACA, or WSIS, Western Canada, or the main body, or your own organization will offer a mentoring program. Last year, I was submitting many CFPs, and some were getting accepted and others were not. I was actually looking for a mentor who could guide me in speaking engagements. It was perfect timing as one of the conferences offered a mentorship program for speakers. I took advantage of it. For me, it wasn't about my talk getting accepted. It was a lot more because what I learned was how to write abstracts. And that's something I didn't realize, the importance of how to have a clear abstract. And I learned that from my mentor. And I can tell you, those sessions with my mentor, and this mentor was in Australia, the other mentor was out in DC. It was phenomenal. I'll also share, like, finding your sponsor sometimes can be difficult. But in my case, for example, how I found my sponsor was I was once speaking at town hall within the organization to educate and raise awareness of the importance of DEI in the workplace. One of the executives asked me if I would be willing to be a mentor for him. And this process is called reverse mentoring. I was his mentor, but in the end, he ended up becoming my sponsor. Secondly, I was asked to present at a board, and that's where I found my second sponsor. I didn't know. I'd never been formally introduced, but I found out through HR that he was championing my initiative to his network. So I reached out to him, and now I'm dedicating time with my sponsor as we meet for an hour every 2 months. What you put in this is what you're going to get out of it, right? A sponsor is going to help promote your brand, and the sponsor will be helping you out without you making the ask. A mentor won't tell you what to do, but they'll help you see things differently. So at the start of this talk, I asked for your participation and added an incentive. So if you haven't already submitted the Google form, please do so now so that I can select a winner. I'm going to refresh my screen so I can see how many people have submitted it. Thank you, Josh. Oh, awesome. I'm seeing some great responses. I got 26 responses. There we go. So I am going to pick a lucky winner. I am going to pick Dave Winter. You will receive, if you've put your details and your email address, you will receive further information from me. So to conclude this talk, my hope is to inspire everyone to stay authentic, focus on your purpose through your passion. And when you do that, opportunities will arise as a result of building your brand. As I bring this back to my purpose, which is to be a change and make an impact to close the gap for underrepresented groups in STEM and leadership, I'd like to share my quote on diversity, which is gender diversity should not be a woman's problem to solve or an HR issue to handle, nor a legislation to be implemented or a movement to occur. It should be everybody's problem to solve. So I'd like to thank Alyssa, Karen, Confidence, Farah, Selena for sharing their journey. Lastly, a big shout out to the amazing organizers, volunteers, speakers at this conference, and of course, all of you for hanging in with me in the beginning when I was trying to figure out how to make this work. We made it happen. So thanks for giving me that confidence. Shukriya, asante sana, merci beaucoup, arigato gozaimasu, and thank you. Questions? Any questions from the audience? You see great comments. I'm going to scroll to see if there's anything else I missed. Yeah, thanks. Great comments here. Okay, so often I hear people feel that block to displaying confidence is fear of public speaking, writing, failing. How do you advise folks on that? I mean, yes, you're right. Speaking here in public, there was a lot of fear. And back to when I started aligning it back to my purpose, how I'm bettering the world, because that's what I'm passionate about. For some reason, it wasn't there. When I aligned it back to what I wanted to do, that fear slowly started going away. And you can also start small, right? Start small with like a small blog, put it on LinkedIn and start sharing it. Start slowly. I like using the crawl, walk, run approach. Start with crawling. That will start giving you some confidence. I know when I started presenting, I started in this industry on a small scale. Before this industry, I was already public speaking, right? But I started on a small scale. And back actually in 2019, when I started doing speaking, there wasn't this video concept. So it was great because in 2019, it wasn't common for people to enable your video as part of doing a webinar, for example. You just saw the slides. So it was great for me because I had the slides, and on another side, I had my speaking notes that I could just read out. It was great. And after that, it just boosted me. Ah, Josh, that's too funny. I love that. Okay, question number 2. How can I approach possible mentors? Also, can you give tips on how not to be awkward when asking for mentorship? Is there a specific goal that you told your mentor for mentorship? How did you? Okay, great question, right? You know, the key thing is there's so many individuals out there who want to give their time and pay it forward. Simple is you ask, someone that you've been watching or someone that you feel you've connected to, just make sure there's something that you feel you have a connection with that person, right? Something you feel that, whether you've been reading their blogs or whatever the case may be, reach out, make the ask. It might feel awkward, and I'll tell you, it may feel awkward, but just reach out, because you know what? What's the worst they're going to say? No? That's okay. There are plenty of other, as they say, plenty of other fish in the sea. There are plenty of other mentors in the sea. So yeah, just feel free to just reach out and ask somebody. Usually those individuals who you've been following or you've connected with, a lot of mentors will say, hey, you know what, I'm capped out, but I can introduce you to somebody else, or I can introduce you to, like ISACA has their mentorship program, right? There's so many different mentorship programs. Even if you just Google, there's some that are already there, but just asking that, what's the worst they're going to say, right? If they say no, it's okay. There's somebody else out there. What else? What was the other question? Is there a specific goal that you told your mentor for mentorship? I actually, with my mentor, I actually started off with, trying to understand, just initially for me, it started off whereby I was rejected for an opportunity in leadership. And I tried several different times. And so the individual who rejected me, I reached out to him and I said, hey, look, okay, you know what? I'm struggling with this and I'm trying to figure out what it is. I'm not asking you for a promotion because I know this position has been given to somebody else, but can you mentor me, right? And so that's how I started off. I want to understand what I need to do on my leadership skills. And it wasn't about my mentor telling me what to do. He just made me realize what I didn't know about myself. And eventually I started working on it. I started working on different things. I started learning to not just network within my own network, I started learning to network outside of my network. And that was one of the things that I wasn't doing. So people didn't know who I was. So just reach out. I'm reading out the notes. Okay. So I hope that answered, CJ, I hope that answered the question on the awkwardness and what you asked your mentor. If you reach out to a mentor, I want a job, right? I get a lot of people who reach out to me, I want a job. I can't help you with that. What I can do is I can help you with tips with interviews or things like that, right? So think about a topic or an agenda. Stick to your cadence. If the individual has committed to meeting you once a month, ask them what their timeline commitments are. And if it is once a month for half an hour, make sure you're sticking to that commitment and communicate to your mentor. One thing that you may not realize is that I know I'm a mentor. There's so much that I'm learning as a mentoring. It's a two-way thing. It's not like, hey, you're learning from me. There's so much that I'm learning back in return. Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Josh, for sharing that. There's lots of programs. And one thing also, within your own organization, I'll tell you, within my own organization at Bugcraft, there wasn't a mentorship program. And what I did was I created it. I created a Slack channel and I call it Mentor Match. And I got a very simple, basic template for everyone to fill out, which is your name, what are you passionate about, what would you like to mentor on, and are you open to mentoring? And so leaders, even individuals, were all filling that form. And if you join that Slack group and you open that PowerPoint to see which mentors are available, then you can read what their passion is and see who you can connect with and then reach out to that individual. So you can also create it within your own organization. Because I know sometimes some of the industry programs can get filled very quickly. The mentorship programs can get filled very quickly. Feel free to start one up within your own organization. If you're in school or college, do that as well. Awesome. Any other questions? Just going to scroll up. Adam, did I answer your question on the fear? One part that you did mention there about failing, right? Failing is a very strong word. And I can relate to that because many times that fear of failing always comes into your head, right? Again, you define what failure is, right? And a lot of individuals look at it like, for me, I look at it, whether it's success or failure, right? Those are two definitions that I just don't use often, right? Because for me, it's all about learning. And for me, it's all about, trying something out. It might take a while. I might still be on the crawl phase for several years, but it's okay. Just start trying a few things. It doesn't have to be in large scale, but stick to your purpose and stick to your passion. And when you do that, the fear will come out. That idea of failure won't be in your mind. Over my time in the industry, have you seen a large change in the diversification of InfoSec staff? I think change is taking place. Hopefully, if I've understood your question correctly, change is taking place, right? In just looking at it, I think there's a lot of talks about, and I'm hoping I've understood your question. Are you talking about the diversity of people joining our industry? If it is, from what I'm understanding the question, yes, okay. Change is starting to take place. It took a long time, but it's still very slow. And back to what I mentioned is, it needs every one of us to make this change happen. And when I say every one of us, including myself, including hiring managers, including organizations, we all need to be invested in this change. Like, many job descriptions I see is that must have all these skills, must have all these qualifications. Just recently, there's somebody that was, I thought she was doing a phenomenal job in investing in herself, and she was working towards all these certifications, but a lot of positions required several different, 5 years of experience. So she had the certifications, but she didn't have 5 years of experience. And I challenged the hiring team to look beyond just 5 years of experience. Let's look at individuals. Let's look at the next generation. If we don't give them an opportunity, how are they going to get those 5 years of experience you're looking for? So look beyond that. To me, back to that failure piece, that question of failure, when I continue doing it based on what my purpose is, and I see success like that individual got a job, right? When several people were rejecting her, like several, and seeing that success and that change, to me, that one success that one change is success. I've made a positive change in this industry.